Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Lifeonaire Show podcast. I'm Jason Wojo, your host for this episode, and we have something really special for you this time. And it is not a regular interview. It's not just banter between Peter and myself, but it's a presentation that was given at our recent Lifeonaire Summit in Atlanta, Georgia, with all of our Lifeonaire membership there. We have there's 250-ish other people there that got to hear this, and I wanted you to hear it too because it's amazing. It's by Jeff Guo, one of our Lifeonaire members, and he put together a wonderful summary of some of the main things that he has used to be successful. He calls it being a nonconformist, living opposite the way most people do it, and therefore getting results far beyond that exceed what most people achieve and accomplish. And so I'm super excited for you to hear this. There's a lot of tangible, valuable gold nuggets in here that you can use to in your own life to apply to your own business, your own situation. And so I'm super excited about this. Also, if you want to learn more about the program that Jeff has used to be successful and to help him achieve the things he's achieved, I'll tell you more about that in the outro. Let's go to the episode right now. Here's Jeff Guo.
So I'm born and raised in China and came to this country when I was 18 years old. And, just typical career path, went to college, found a job. But one thing I noticed is that how many people around me truly living a balanced life that I'm dreaming for, so-called American dream. And the answer is not a ton. And then we are the product of the society and environment that we surround ourselves with. Then the idea of nonconformity came about. So raise your hand. How many people do you guys know in your life, outside of life in your community, that you guys know who truly live in a balanced life? That'd be a ton, somewhat. Few, but so the topic today, I want to focus on the word nonconformity. So Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God will is His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So those will be the verse that we're going to kind of talk about throughout the day. But before we get started, I want to do two super quick exercises, 10, 15 seconds. The first one is I would like you to pull up your calculator, do some math. Use 90 minus your current age, whatever that is, and times 365. Once you get a number in front of your calculator, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper right now and do a circle. 90 minus current age times 365. Write that number down and just do a circle. Oh, age, sorry. So depending on where we are, it's going to be somewhere between 5,000 to 15,000, 20,000. So basically, that's the amount of days we have before we turn 90th birthday, because this came back from my grandma's birthday at 90. That's the amount of days we have remaining before we turn 90, if we're blessed enough to live for that long. So one question I think, I love is, if we can go back 20 years ago, what kind of advice would you give to your younger self? And today I want to push this to one step further and ask the following question. If today is your 90th birthday, just blow a candle. Lots of people come and celebrate for you. Imagine you're 90, right? Hands are shaking and it might not be as strong as you're today. What would that version of you, what kind of life advice would that person give to you today? What will your 90-year-old self, what life advice give to you today? So that's the question we're going to try to figure it out. And that's the question I asked myself as we're preparing for this. So today I want to share with you guys the 3 life advices that my 90-year-old self give to me today. And one thing I want to point out on the topic of conformity is each one of us have our each unique life experience. So what I'm about to share might or might not be the same as the answer that you have. So to encourage you to come up with your own advice, which we're going to go through towards the end. I'm just simply share the voice that I heard from myself when I'm turned 90. So those three things are: live an abundant life from the perspective of time and location freedom, peace freedom, and attention freedom. I think when it comes to freedom, financial freedom, financial independence are the mostly used. But as I dig deeper, one thing I realized is that what we're really looking for is not really financial freedom. We want a time freedom, want a freedom to have a lot of peace, and want to have freedom that our attention can be focused, not distracted. And I'll share a few tips that I've learned from other wise people in my life that helped, me greatly. The second advice I give for myself is live an abundant life. Find one thing that brings us the most happiness. So there's a 90-year-old study done by Harvard that studied over 2,000 people across 3 to 4 generations, across different races, social demographics, income. They find out there's one thing that brings people more happiness than anything else. So I'm going to kind of share that a little bit. And lastly, live an abundant life from who we become. Well, those are the 3 things we're going to go through today. The first one is how to live an abundant life through time and location freedom, peace freedom, and attention freedom. First of all, time and location freedom. So there are a few mindsets I'm going to share, and those mindsets, by no means I come up with it. Everything comes from wise people in my life that share with me, and people that have lifted me up, like Steve was saying. And I'll try to do my best to try to give credits to those who have shared it with me. And the only thing that I have done is to try it, practice it, and somehow it worked. So I'm just here simply to share what others have shared with me, and those things have worked. So there are 3 to 4 mindsets I want to share when it comes to location and time freedom. Residual income versus transactional income. I think in a conformed world, we get a good job, we trade our time for money. That's where the society tells us to do, right? But one distinguish I want to make is, I encourage you, is look at the income that you're making today. What percentage of that falls into the bucket of residual income? What percentage of that falls into the bucket of transactional income? What's the difference, right? Transactional income, we'll put in the work, we'll put in the hours. For each amount of input of work we do, we have output. So our income and our time are directly correlated. Residual income, on the other hand, we might spend 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, let's say, to buy a rental property, lots of work. But by the time it's done, first month, the rent comes in, we use that to pay the insurance, the property tax, the management. The second month, same thing again. The rent comes in, we should pay that. There's still going to be some work, but guess what? At that point, our time is no longer going to be directly correlated to our income. So I just want to make a very clear distinguish. Once I first heard that, it was a live on moment for me. What percentage of your current income goes into the bucket residual income? You do a lot of hard work at once. Once it's done, there's very little correlation between income and time versus how much of that is transactional income. And I would like to encourage us to, put more and more thoughts on how to build something that can produce more residual income, because that disconnect between income and time is really what gives the time freedom. Mindset number 2, abundance mindset. 25% watermelon is way better than 100% grape. Anyone who has heard that sort of saying? So coming from China, I grew up in Shanghai with 25 million people. Every single thing is a fight. You go to the metro, you need to fight to get in line. You go to school. One point, in the past is separation between you and 6,000 other students. So just intrinsically for the first 18 years, always fight the scarcity mindset thing, in my mind. So when somebody told me this, 25% watermelon is way better than 100% grape, I thought, that's interesting. But does that make sense, right? Another thing I just want to share is, let's say all of us right now go outside to the sun. Just because there's sunshine on my shoulder does not necessarily mean that there cannot be sunshine on your shoulder, on every one of our shoulders, right? There's so much sun. It's the belief system is, do we believe if there's sunshine on my shoulder, there cannot be sunshine on anyone else's shoulder, or if there's enough sunshine for everyone? So that abundance mindset really make a difference in terms of the way that flows in my thinking process, in terms of how we structure deal in such a way that I can partner with others that don't need to spend a ton of time, but only the time that I'm doing that the best. So mindset number 2, abundance mindset. Mindset number 3, 80% done by others, 100% awesome. How many of us are entrepreneurs? Raise your hand. Own our business. If you're like me, I'm a perfectionist. I like to do everything perfectly. I did not like also, that person cannot be doing the things as good as I am. But that's really one of the obstacles for me initially of being able to the delegation. So when I heard they say, 80% done by others, 100% off. That's interesting. So I want to dig deeper a little bit on the topic of delegation, how important that is. And I'm not going to talk much about strategy because I think mindset is really way more than strategy. We all want to do our hire, whether it's a CEO, etc. I think the first thing that comes to your mind, we want to do the hire so that we can expand our business. What if I challenge all of us to think, what if the goal for the next hire is not to expand the business, but to buy our time back? Each hire that we do, whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's a manager of some sort, what the goal for that is not to expand our business by 10, 20, 50%. What if the goal for our next hire is such that we can buy 1 hour, 2 hours a week back, 5 hours, 10 hours a week back? I'll get to a point. I'll get to why that's so important. If we were able to provide other people with an opportunity to do the work, meaningful work and good living, guess what? Everybody wins. We get to save 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours of our time a week, and other people get to make a great living and do meaningful work. All right, so this part is more like the strategy, tactical. Once I heard it, it's so powerful that I just want to share it with you guys. 168-hour time audit. Who has sort of heard what that means? 160 hours. So each day have 24 hours times 7 days. That's 168 hours a week. That's how much time we have in a week. This will be one of the action items you guys can take starting next Monday at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., whenever you guys wake up. You can use Excel spreadsheet. You can even better just use a pen and paper. Every 15 minutes since you wake up, starting at 6 a.m. or whenever you wake up next Monday, start recording. All right, from 6 to 6:15, I wake up and get a coffee. Write it down. 6:15 to 6:30, I, brush my teeth and go read a newspaper, write it down. 6:30 to 8, I, get breakfast ready for the kids, drop them off, write it down. Every 15 minutes, whatever that is, write it down. And once good evening, right, 10 p.m. to, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to sleep. You don't need to write every 15 minutes. So this way, after about a week, you will have a lot of data points of that. And I'll touch base on that, how can I use with that. All right. After 1 week, right, it's very tedious, but guess what? It's only a week, but the impact is so profound. Once you have so many activities and the description next to it, I would encourage you to put a dollar sign right next to the activity that is income producing, revenue generating activity specifically for business. Okay. So design a website, not income generating. Printing your business card out, not income generating. Making offers, income generating. Okay. So just, put a dollar sign next to all the income generating activities that you do for those 15 minutes and 0 next to the one that don't. And most of it will be 0. That's step number 1. Step number 2, put a happy face next to the ones I love to do. Drink coffee, happy face. I need to let go of one of my employees today. Sad face, right? Happy face, sad face, happy face, sad face. For those who are neutral, we can just put a flat face to it. So once you do all of that, guess what? Every single activity will have 2 signs next to it. Dollar sign or 0 sign, number 1. Happy face or sad face. What do we outsource first? Those activities that's business related or some of them personal that has both a 0 signs next to it and sad face next to it. Those be the first bucket for us to start considering who can we work with so that we can buy our time back, right? Those activities you have a happy face that generate income, guess what? Keep it for later stage. But those ones that has a $0 sign and sad face, those are to be the first activities to be outsourced. Find out our superpower. All right, so this will be a pretty unique mind challenge. It's pretty neat to find out what superpower is. When it comes to hire, I'll say, I mean, we talk about it, right? I think Steve will kind of talk about it. I think, CEO, COO, CTO, et cetera, it's kind of like the natural position depending on where business are. But just from my own experience and experience many others, I think the very first hire, how many of us are solopreneur? There's no employees. Raise your hand if you're the only one. No hire. Okay, that's great. The very first hire that's the most impactful, in my opinion, is a executive assistant or virtual assistant of some sort. The first question that is, my business cannot afford it. And my question for you is, can you afford $40 a week, which is $160 per month for the next 3 months? Because there are so many different options on, overseas or domestic, and talk both, where you can just hire someone for 5 hours a week. Most people think, I need to have someone for 40 hours a week locked in for the next 30 years. No, you don't. My very first virtual assistant started working for me for 5 hours a week. And that 5 hours just blow my mind. I just continued on for 5 hours a week to 10 hours a week to 40 hours a week, right? So I would encourage some of us who does not yet have an executive assistant, that should be the very first hire, at $8 per hour, at 5 hours per week, that's $40 per week. I think it's a super low risk investment. And the next question, what do I have the person do? Go back to 2 previous slides. The activities that you do that had a sad face to it with a zero income generating activity. Have them start doing that. And just want to give a warning, it's addictive. Once you start having them do it, you start coming back to work. Oh my goodness, wow, it's not as good as mine, but 80% done is 100% awesome. That's really the wheel start churning, and you will start buying more and more time back. So I kind of want to share a bit, so some of you guys know we live in Florida as of 2022. My wife, Chloe, and our son, your Joy, posed that to me, I want to go back to school. Great. She applied, and when they come to my office, I got accepted to study theology at Oxford in the UK. Great. So 2022, we packed up and moved from Florida to Oxford. So in a way, we're almost on a desert island, right? And what can I do? Because of the time difference, 10 a.m. East Coast time is 3 p.m. in the UK time. So my work does not really get to start until 3 p.m. in the UK where we live, which is 10 a.m. over here. But I have a hard cutoff, which is 5 p.m. Need to put down my phone, start picking up kids. So my real window of opportunity for my work is every day between 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. In the evening, I'll check my email for half an hour-ish here and there. I used to work 5 days a week, and then we'll have a few conversations. Hey, let's get Friday off as a creative day. No calls, nothing. Things still works. Hey, let's get Wednesday off. So currently my work schedule is Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. doing calls. And those are, in my opinion, for me, one of the highest leverage activity. I talk to my business partners, both through the portfolios, and all the others are handled by either business partners or team members or virtual assistants, etc. So who has heard the work book 4-Hour Workweek? So if you have not yet read it, my goodness, besides Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's the second most mind-blowing book when it comes to business. So I'm not quite at 4 hours, but in general, I work somewhere between 6 to 8 hours a week from the few months of this year. All right, lesson number 4, vocabulary flock. So Steve has been coaching us since 2020, and one of the things that he tells me over and over again is from Bible verse called vocabulary clock. Look after the flock. My first reaction is, boring, Steve. Tell me something else. And he kept saying, look after the flock, look after the flock. We as entrepreneurs, we like to make actions happen. But look after the flock, there's no action going on. We like to do acquisitions, right? And more is not better, better is better, according to Steve Cook. Then one day I said, you know what? How can I make something sound as boring as looking after a flock to something that's more exciting? I love numbers. Who else here love numbers? okay, about half the room. So I said, what's the one KPI per week I can track such that I will make this activity more exciting? And the one KPI I've decided is the total vacancy loss. Look at your portfolio. If you were to rent out every single vacancy in your entire portfolio, what's that number be? Pretty simple. So we started tracking that every single week. And because the system we have takes them 10, 15 minutes, but each week we start looking at what that number is. Who here knows today, this week, what is the exact vacancy loss in your portfolio? Raise your hand. Okay, saw 2 hands. A month from now, I hope that everybody's hand will be up because it literally takes 5 minutes a week to know this number. I'll share a few numbers. Whatever you focus on, whatever expand, right? So when I first started, a little over a year ago, I look at the entire portfolio. Each month, we have about $95,000 of vacancy loss. So if we were to rent out a vacancy in our place, we can collect an additional $95,000. So that's a big number. We continue to track every week, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll have a report to show us what that number is. Interestingly, starting week 2, that number started going down. 95,000, 92,000, 90,000, 85,000. And about 6 to 12 months later, that number becomes $50,000. Like, okay, so what? What's the big deal? Well, we basically collected an additional $45,000 a month of revenue because that one number we tracked. And in real estate, most of that revenue goes to income because of the overhead has been taken care of. So basically, since we start tracking that, we're able to collect an additional $45,000 a month of income. All right? So times 12 months, that's about $540,000 of NOI-ish additional collected each year. Because of that looking at flock theory, at a 7.5% cap rate, that's $7.2 million additional value that's been created. What's unique about this number is that number, value is 7.2, it's a free number. It's a free valuation. It's as if we went out and bought something for $7 million without using any debt, without using any equity. So who here would be interested in getting a free $7 million income producing asset without any debt? Raise your hand. I saw a few heads and not raised, which is fine. You don't want a $7 million free property. But that's really what that number is. Track your portfolio's vacancy on a monthly, preferably on a weekly basis. Stare at it. Put it on your wall so I can see it every single week. And then, based on the NOI, based on cap rate, you might find an additional $1 million, $5 million, $500,000. It doesn't matter. But that is free money lying there. Once I realized that, my goodness, looking after flock becomes way more interesting than doing another acquisition. As a result, I have not bought anything in the last year and a half. So, because there's still another $50,000 to track. So, that's really the 4 points I want to mention on the time and location freedom and having an abundance mindset. 80% watermelon way better than 100% of a grape. Delegation. And then just look at your thought. Once you take care of those 4, given the same workflow, if not lower, your portfolio can generate more income. You'll have more time freedom. So second thing I want to mention is peace freedom. All right. The first one is what is enough. I think that the word enough has been talked about quite a bit in the Lifeonaire community. I want to share a story of a Chinese entrepreneur of one of the questions that she answered me, which really is mind-blowing. So in the 1990s, that's when China's economy really started opening up. And there's one Chinese entrepreneur, small lady, 5'2", 5'3"-ish Chinese lady. At that point, if you work for a state government at a medium, income range, the monthly income at that point in the 1990s in China is about $20 to $25 per month. $20 to $25 per month at that point. We're seeing slow, but over there it's a middle class. So this entrepreneur took out all the savings that she had, opened up a clothing store. Bought it cheap, $4, $5 to sell it for $89. Did it so well that she expanded to the second store and third store, 10th store, 20th store. Did so well that she started having her own design team and manufacturer. At a peak when she retired about 20 years later, she's got about 50 stores in China. In my opinion, it's very successful. So one day after she retired, right before she turned 50, I said, do you have any regret in the last 20 years? What a great run you had. And she said, I do have one regret. And her answer to my question really changed the way that I think about a lot of things. I want to share with you guys. She said, the one regret that I have is I did not sell it or close down even years earlier. I did not know the concept was enough. I can move on earlier so I can spend more time with my son. As you can maybe imagine, that person I'm describing is my mom. That's one regret she had of not moving on earlier, because she has moved beyond the point of having enough, but she continued on. As a result, she did not get to spend as much time with me as possible. So on the topic of nonconformity, what is enough, right? We Think and Grow Rich, great book, right? Talking about our desire and our vision, etc. So there are two sides to it. And today I want to kind of argue on the opposite side of things using a few quotes on the topic of desire, the next level, which will be quite countercultural. One of them, desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy and to get what you want. Rabble, anybody heard his name? He's a pretty well-known, tech entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley area. He has a great book on the topic of happiness. Is great, highly recommended. Desire, a contract make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. So basically he's saying, I want to have desire, but I want to control how many desires I have at a time. You try to have one desire at a time, try to achieve it so that he will not be in a zone of being unhappy. Seventh quote, the size of the gap between your expectation and your reality defines your happiness. How much gap do we have between where we are to where we want to be? If somehow we can shorten that to manageable, then we can manage our happiness. And the third one is from a pretty wealthy guy, Charlie Munger. A lifetime of happiness can be created with low expectations. He's talking about that worth a few $100 billion. A lifetime of happiness can be created with low expectations. Very countercultural. So I just want to share those 3 to 4 examples to figure out what is enough. All right, I want to share one story with my wife, Chloe. One day we're walking after dinner. I say, Chloe, hypothetically, we have $1 trillion liquidity, not in a stock, not in a bond, not in real estate, sitting there in the bank. What's the one thing that you'd like to buy we don't have right now? Once you ask a good question, you get a good answer. I just start thinking, I have $1 trillion. You can buy other things with that. And after 15 minutes, she said, okay, if we do have $1 trillion, the one thing we don't have, I really want to buy, is a massage chair from Costco. I said, okay, we can do that. And 6 months later, she said, Jeff, I don't even want that because we move so much. We're going to describe out a little bit. I don't even want that. I said, okay, we have $1 trillion. There's really nothing she does not want. And she's one of the happiest people I know because she has such a low expectation. Not even a massage chair. Our friend Josh Kayla, my goodness, he said, I could live off of $20,000 if needed to be. They have an awesome life, which I'll talk about a little bit. But because they can live super frugal, low expectation, even though they can live 10 times more luxury than they are some of the happiest people that we know. All right, mindset number 2, lower hat brings peace. In both in business and in person. Who here knows the fixed cost of your business today? Like, if you don't make any revenue, what's the amount that you need to pay out of business? Who knows that figure? Okay, so figure out what that figure is. Is it $100 a month? Is it $10,000 a month? The lower the overhead is, I find out in personal and also in business, the less stress it is because we don't need to go out and make as many deals to feed a machine, so to speak. How many hours a month you need to work in order to cover fixed costs? The lower we can keep that number, I find out the simpler life is and happy it is. Mindset number 3, debt-free investments. So I studied finance in college. I love numbers, as you can probably tell. And in the last few years, that's the one concept that Steve has mentioned. I probably fall in the hardest on. Steve, you don't understand. Well, cash on cash return. And the IRR, if you use debt free, gosh, how can that be? But 2 things that changed my mind I want to share with you. One is we did a one-on-one in Knoxville with Steve. And he got a whiteboard in his office. I said, Steve, what is that? It's basically, a list of his single family portfolio. On a left column, this address produced, $2,000 gross rent. There's a net $1,700. So difference $300 goes to insurance and tax. There's no mortgage. There's a Brent profit list on there. Steve, this is the most boring real estate portfolio I've ever seen in my life. But then I started doing some math. Like, even though it's boring, it's simple and it's powerful. It's super resilient, recession resilient. Don't need to worry about a mortgage payment. So that's when my mind started thinking, okay, the cash on cash might not be as high as using debt, but I think you can sleep better at night. So that's one thing that really get my, mind start turning. Okay, here's a quote that's pretty cool. Every dollar of asset on your balance sheet is part of your future that you own. Asset, top line. Every dollar of asset on your balance sheet is part of the future that you own. Every dollar of liability on your balance sheet is part of a future that somebody else owns you. Asset, liability. So looking at that, I'm like, Steve does not really have much that he owns other people. That's why he lives such a peaceful life. So I love that quote. Just want to share it with you guys. They asked Steve, I say, hey, so why do more people use debt-free investment? What he said is because most real estate investors, entrepreneurs, the goal is to maximize the wealth. I'm one of them, but he said his goal is to maximize the happiness in life. When I heard that, it's just really, a mind-blowing moment for me. Fourth one, cash is the king. All right. I don't like to see cash. I did not like to see cash in my bank. My wife knows that, Chloe. If I have $100 in the bank, I would like to invest it somewhere. It's like the little soldier brings more soldier kind of theory, right? Net worth, more important than cash flow, more than cash. Who can somewhere relate to that? Okay. And then in the last few years, invest in some deals, other people's deals might not work out. And, what? It's time. Net worth really cannot, pay the utility bill, but cash can. So after going through the last few years, our new thinking process, when it comes to peace, cash brings more peace. The cash flow brings more peace than net worth. So it's okay to have, some nice liquidity sitting there. Net worth does not pay utility bills, cash does. All right, so summarize. 4 things on the peace freedom. What is enough? Low overhead brings peace, debt-free investments, and cash is the king. Attention freedom. So that's the third thing I'm going to talk about freedom before I move on is time is more precious than money. But I think that focused attention is more important than time because in the society we live right now, it's really hard to have focus. One quick story I'm going to share is in my previous business, I started a home care company in the Bay Area. Basically, we hired caregivers to go to grandma's home to look after them, slowly grow from 0 employees and 2 and 5, and at one point I have 20, 25 employees. And one thing will happen is people call off shifts, and I'm the one who answers the call. Each time the phone rings, 90% of the time people call off shift, and 10% of the time it's like new leads. So basically, every time I hear my ringtone, my heart rate goes up automatically. I might not spend much time in the business, but the amount of attention, the focus I have is so tremendous that it's scary. We sold a business in 2018, and 2 years later, 3 years later, I was walking on the street. There's a person walking opposite of me, had that ringtone on. I did not notice that. My heart rate goes up. What's going on? What's going on? 5 to 10 minutes later, it's because of ringtone. That's how bad it gets when it comes to our attention. So what I'm about to share is a concept that I borrowed from for our work week. I don't answer my phone calls today. If you call me, I'm not going to answer it. I don't give up my phone numbers mostly. Maybe you text me, I'll respond. But phone calls, I don't answer, except my wife. Here's my priority to give me the most peace. That might not work for you. The best one is no email. Don't even send me emails. Take care of things. Then send me email. I don't need to respond right away. Then text message. Then Zoom call. The last one is unscheduled call, which I just don't pick it up in that order. Email, the text message, scheduled call, then phone call. Social media. I love social media. And one of the trick I find is I'll delete all the social media apps on my phone. If I need to see it, I'm going to reinstall it. Takes 15 seconds. But because of that extra, friction, chances are I don't even want to look at it anymore. So for us who like to look at social media, delete it. If I want to look at it, just reinstall it. Takes 15 seconds. But guess what? Chances are it's going to, we're going to get a lot more, attention back. So what does that look like? So we moved to Oxford in about 2 years ago. Was going to be there for 1 year. A few months later, Chloe said to me, "Can I get another degree?" Yes, ma'am. So been there for 2 years, and chances are I'm going to be there for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. So that's a picture of us after our third one was born. That's a picture of Oxford, which we love. One more. We get to just really have a lot of Just awesome time. Basically, each morning before 3 p.m., I don't check my email. There's no phone calls. It's complete free time every single day. One of my favorite activities is to bike our oldest one to school in the morning, back and forth. We'll get to hang out with our friend Josh and Kayla, who come here twice. So they're going to be our neighbor next year in Oxford. And we're talking to a few people who might also be interested in. So I'm thinking about getting like a row of house, 3, 4, 5 people to move, not to move, but like to temporarily relocate to UK to hang out with us. So just want to throw out there to plant a seed, if you will. All right, we talked about how to live an abundant life through time, freedom, location freedom. We talked about, the next one I'll talk about is what's that one thing that really gives us more happiness than anything else based on this Harvard study. So the significance behind this study is the fact that its longevity is about 90 years old. Most studies do not go for that long. They studied 2,000 people, I think in the Boston area. Some of them are second, third, and fourth generation. And then they have a pretty interesting finding. Across different, demographics, they find out more than anything else, having good relationships is the one factor that brings people more happiness than anything else, more than wealth, more than health, and more than anything else. So when I saw that study, I was like, that's interesting. What will my 90-year-old self tell myself about the result of this study on relationships? What are 3 most important relationships on earth that I have? Relationship with my wife, relationship with the kids, and relationship with family and friends. So I want to share a few thoughts, thinking process, if you will, of how we're thinking about to maximize the relationship with our spouse. All right, we've been married for 10 years this year. A week before we got married, Chloe asked me to do 2 things. She said, you have to promise me those 2 things before we get married. And instead of me sharing, I'm going to let her tell you guys what that is. It's a week before we get married, and she asked me, you have to promise me those 2 things.
Okay, so 2 things. The first one is I want Jeff to continue to treat me as her girlfriend, even we got married, even we have kids. So to pursue me as her girlfriend forever. And yes, and the second thing is I want to get rid of my husband and my kids to go on a trip on my own every year. No kids, no husband.
Yeah. Quick tip, guys. I'm dumb when it comes to knowing what Chloe wants. I'm so thankful that she made it clear for me to know it. So for the wives sitting here, make a point to your husband of what you want. They don't know. I didn't know. But when she made it clear to me, I said, okay, that's what she wants. No problem. Make a point. Really. Come on. So that's what we did. Continue to pursue her as my girlfriend every day after I got married. I still see her as my girlfriend after 10 years. And then she takes a trip. She took a trip to Japan with her mom last year. Take a trip to Japan again with her sister this year. And time apart is just so great. The question is, who's going to take care of the kids? Guys, go figure it out. Babysitter and this and that, figure it out. But this has been tremendous in our relationship. All right, 4 powerful phrases. This was shared with me by good friend and mentor, George Stores, that Phil knows too. He said, 4 phrases. Guy, it's not easy to say those 4 phrases, especially with our ego, but that works. We just have one of the best marriage I have from the person who told me this. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer, and I need help. Try it to your spouse. I think the wife can use that too, those 4 phrases. That's tough. All right. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer, and I need help. Chloe's face just lit up each time I say, I'm sorry. So yeah, that's what I'm waiting. I'm sorry. It's worth it, guys. Happy wife, happy life. Make a wife happy. Put the egos aside. The average divorce rate in the U.S., many other cultures, about 50%. The divorce rate among Christian community is somewhere between 20 and 25%. But a couple that does this one thing of praying together before go to bed, some stat shows is less than 1%. Who will want to use last 1 minute per day to decrease the chance of getting divorced from 50% down to 1%? Raise your hand. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, great. It's a good investment. It's a good ROI. Prayer helps us to set our egos aside asked to God for wisdom and humility. People pray together, stay together. It came from a good friend of ours, Eddie and Astor, who's been married for over 60 years this year. They told me this saying when I was 20, 21 years old, and that had made an impression on me. I want to share with you guys. All right, relationship with our children. Two shocking data. So 93% of the time that we spend with our kids happened before they're 18 years old. I think some of you might have heard it. That's data number one. Data number two, percentage of Warren Buffett's net worth created after he turned 60 is 99%. 99% of Warren Buffett's net worth is created after he turns 60 years old. What's interesting, if you put those two numbers together, there will be some logical conclusion for action we want to take, right? So what? I want to be super greedy to hang out with my kids before they turn 18, because there goes 93% of the time. If I'm going to build a business empire after 60, guess what? There's a pretty good chance I can make 90 to 99% of my net worth after turning 60. So that just really helps put things into perspective. That's another thing we learned from someone. I can't remember who that is who here have kids who's not married? Raise your hand. Imagine we walk out the door tomorrow or today, we get hit by the bus. We might not be at their wedding. So one of our friends shared with us to do a video recording of yourself today, 2 minutes, pretending that you're no longer around on their wedding, and you want the video to be shown to your kids on their wedding day. I did that. It was not easy. And then I saved the file and sent it to each one of our 3 kids' email that they don't have access to until after they turn 18. So I encourage you to try it. Video record yourself. What we want to say to them on their wedding day is you're no longer around. So a few things we did with our kids, which is nonconformed. In 2020, we moved down to Orlando, bought a house down there. People ask us why. I said, we don't want to take our kids to Disney. We bought a house, moved from Maryland down to Orlando. Bought a house, bought a season pass, went to Disney Universal Studio about 30 times in that 1 year, to the point where our kids are like, I don't want to go there anymore. This is taken a few weeks ago in Shanghai, my grandma's 90th birthday. We have been traveling with our kids on the road for the last 4 months right now. We left our home base in the UK, just been traveling, and we went back home because we just want to spend so much time with our family. Mount Fuji. Last week, Chloe's bucket list to go to Mount Fuji. And I said, Chloe, my bucket list in my life is to finish your bucket list. So last week, we went to climb Mount Fuji, which has been a bucket list of hers for a long time. What's cool is we brought our 7-year-old. She's the only child under the age of 18 we saw for the entire day of climbing Mount Fuji. It's not easy. Part of it is hard. We carried her, and we climbed overnight and watched the sunrise in the morning. What's cool about this experience, guys, it's not just about climbing Mount Fuji, but part of it where Joy is so tired that I carried her on a degree of 45, 50 degrees. I continue to whisper to her, I'm so proud of you, and you're doing so great. And those are the moments that we'll remember more so than watch the sunrise on top of Mount Fuji, which itself is cool. So building those memories with the kids, you got 18 years, if not less. All right, having this relationship with friends and family. So I think one thing we have heard probably is happiness, right? What do you want to do something? What do you want to find a job? Or I want to make money. Why do you want to make money? Want to provide for our family. Why do we want to provide for our family? Oh, feel secure and being loved. Want to do that. Want to find happiness. But happiness often is the end goal. What do you want to find happiness? There's usually not another answer to the end. And one thing I find about relationship is pretty cool is, for relationship, right? I mean, just for everyday survival, every day, it's usually a means to an end. Relationship lead to something. But what if we treat our relationship with our friends as an end by itself? There's nothing more. Why do you want to be in a relationship with me? Nothing. I just want to be your friends and love you. And one day we'll see each other after this life. What if we see each other? What if we see the relationship we have as an end by itself, just like happiness is an end by itself? That really made a profound impact on me. Love people and use things because the other way never works. All right. So talk about how to live an abundant life through relationship and through time and peace freedom. Last one, talk about who we want to become. I want to share a bit about my faith journey. So I came to this country when I was 18 years old, and I've grown up in a, Buddhist culture society in China. My dad was an atheist professor for about 15 years, teaching atheists in a college in Shanghai. So when I was 18 years old, I brought 2 suitcases to the States for the first time. And I remember during the school, the 2 weeks before the school starts, right, the orientation, we're walking around, and there are 2 students sending out flyers to us. It's come from one of the college ministry. My dad, being an atheist professor for 15 years, said, son, this is no good. No need to. Yes, dad, no problem. Then he left China. I'm here by myself for the first time. One day, I was working around student union with my roommate in the Friday evening, pulled my head in, heard some beautiful music. I just left after 15, 20 seconds. One student came out and said, hey, do you want to join us and listen to your music? I said, sure. It turns out it's the InterVarsity, the college ministry. And then the person talking about significance brought me and a few other students every single week to his dorm to study the Bible. And I just found a kind of peace I never felt before. And then during one of the retreats that year, I decided to become a Christian. But being too scared and not tell my dad because he's an atheist professor for 15 years. Until 3 years later, on my 21st birthday, my grandma came to celebrate my birthday. We took a cruise trip from Los Angeles to Alaska. It's a 14-day cruise. During one of the cruise, my dad said to me, we went to the deck, pretty dark. He said, son, I want you to try to go to church in America because religious freedom. I said, Dad, I thought you told me, not to get involved 3 years earlier. Plus, you're an atheist professor. And he said, son, I have decided to become a Christian. And I said, Dad, I didn't tell you this, but, after you left 3 years earlier, I got involved in the student ministry and I also became a Christian. So that was a pretty cool moment to share with my dad and for him to share with me. So when I first became Christian, I did not tell anyone in my family because I'm the nonconformed one in my home, but instead I just prayed for them. Then one after another, my dad became a Christian through some remote relatives preaching. My mom became a Christian. My grandma became a Christian. So more and more of them become Christian, which is super awesome. In 2012, a few years later, I got a phone call that my grandpa, who was my best friend growing up, I showed a picture of him. These are taken when I was 16, 17 years old. He got colon cancer, stage 4. And I flew back with the idea to say goodbye to him, but also I really want him to become a Christian so I can see him. In terms of Chinese culture, you don't tell the people you're dying, tell them, you're going to get better. I said, Grandpa, you're stage 4, chances are I'm not going to see you again. But there's a way that I might be able to see you after you leave this world. I kind of share with him about my faith and all the awesome people I've met. Said, no. I was only there for 10 days because of limited vacation time at the time. And one day, just with some friends from church come, my grandpa said, you know what? I like what you're saying about seeing you in heaven again, but I want you to promise me one thing. I said, what is it, Grandpa? I said, if I were to believe in what you say, I wanted to share the same message to your grandma, his wife, and my uncle. I said, yes. So 3 weeks before he passed away, he gave his life to Christ and was baptized. And the last thing he said to me is, share this message with your grandma, and I'll see you in heaven. This is a picture of my grandma many, many years ago. So my grandma is a Communist Party member for 70 years of her life, one of the most stubborn person. So this time, and Communist Party, the rule is Communist Party is number 1 by period. Otherwise, you're going to get kicked out. So we've been praying for her, we've been sharing it with her, and this time we went back to Shanghai for her 90th birthday. Again, I shared it with her. I said, no, I'm too old for that. And then at that moment, the Holy Spirit just came upon and said, share something that she understands. So I said, Grandma, if somebody come and visit you with a gift and they leave the gift by your door and they start walking away, would you return the gift to your friends? Would you offer to pay them the gift? Hey, I'm going to pay for the gift because I don't earn it. Or would you gladly accept it? She said, no, of course I'll gladly accept it. And I said, this is what this is. It's a gift from God. It's free. And she said, I don't know what's in there. I said, you don't know what's in your friend's gift either, but still accept it. That opened up her eyes quite a bit. About a week before we left, She said, okay, you know what? I'm ready to join you through as if it's some sort of thing. We say the prayers, and she decided to give her life to Christ. I did not tell too many people, but she's the one who called my mom 2 days later. Hey, so you know, I've decided to join your group. She's 90 years old in biological age, but she's a newborn in spirit. I'm super, super happy for that. And the picture I'm going to show next, this is about 2 minutes after she made her decision. I took it because I don't know when it's the next time I'm going to see her on Earth. So living a abundant life for who we become. I want to talk about the spirit of fruits: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those will not reflect on our balance sheet, but talking about abundance life, I don't know how much more abundance one's life can be if we have one or two or all of those spiritual fruits: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. Does those sound like abundant life to you if we have one or a lot of those? Related to that, I want to shift 3 stages of my Lifeonaire journey. So when I first started and working with Steve, hey, how can I get a best practice on buying real estate? And Steve is wealth of knowledge, obviously, how to build our real estate portfolio and produce more income, which is great. That's stage number 1. Stage number 2 is we get to learn how to live an abundant life, which is great. All the experience that we get to have, all the happiness, all the freedom I get to have, which we did not have before. That's our stage number 2. And then one day I just realized, I haven't even shared this with Steve. I say, what's the next stage might look like? I think it's how to become more like Jesus so that we can have the spiritual fruits that was mentioned, because that's really what gives us the life of abundance. So then I start thinking, if it's so easy to live an abundant life, what is stopping that? I've got a few different answers, but it comes down to one. That's one thing that's stopping me, maybe stopping some of you, of living an abundant life. I think it's our own ego. Ego to do everything by ourselves. Ego to achieve more so that we can say we're finally enough. Ego to prove to our parents so that we're loved. Ego to prove to our middle school classmate that we don't even remember a name that we made it. Who can relate to that? Ego to always be right. In marriage, we don't apologize. Of course I'm right. Ego to keep our own identity instead of giving it to Christ. I remember that was one of my biggest things before I decided to become a Christian. Is I want to have my own identity. I don't want to give my identity to someone else. So what is causing my ego? Then a list of answers start coming out. What's causing my ego? What's causing my ego? There's a lot of different answers. And I think for me, it comes down to one thing that causes my ego. It's fear. Fear that I'm not enough. Fear that I'm not loved. And fear that I'm not significant. Because of those fear that cause my ego, because that ego that caused me to live in a life from a life of abundance. So the next question I start asking is, who do I want to be enough to? Who do I want to be loved by? Who do I want to be significant to? The answer is not my high school or middle school classmates who I don't remember the name, by the way. Then my answer for that is our spouse, our kids, our true friends, and our Lord and Savior who will spend eternity with. How to overcome our fear? Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I'm with you. Do not be dismayed, for I'm your God. I'll strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Romans 10:9. This is a verse I shared with my grandma before she made a decision. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And that's the one verse that I believe is connected my grandma with our Creator, and she's in good hands because of that. So I would like to encourage us, I don't know if you can see it, but most of us are believers. Some of us are still in the discovery. But I think that one prayer, if you say, can really help us to be connected to God, to overcome our fear, hence our ego, and help live truly abundant life. For those who are willing to read, with me. Dear Heavenly Father, Forgive me for relying on my own strength and ego. I surrender my fears to you, trusting in your power to guide and strengthen me. I confess that Jesus is Lord and believe you raised him from the dead. Help me live in the freedom of being your child, experiencing the abundant life you've promised, a life filled with your joy, peace, purpose. Thank you for your grace and salvation. In Jesus' name, amen. So congratulations. Now we have the relationship with God that can help overcome our fear and therefore our ego, which is my biggest obstacle of living an abundance life. So one thing I just want to mention is in one of our marriage, way before I even met Chloe, one of the best marriage advice I got from somebody that made such a profound impact in my marriage, I want to share with you all whose kids have not yet get married. And it's so significant. And instead of me telling you that, I would love to, if you can give the microphone to Joy, our 7-year-old. Joy, could you share with us what mom and daddy share with you of how to have a great marriage?
If you want to have a good marriage, you will need to find a husband who loves God more than he loves you.
That's right. So that's the one thing that I learned from the person who brought me to Christ, and I'll share with that to every single one of our kids. Because if our spouse love for God is more than he is for us, guess what? Their love for us will never be running out because they'll continue to get that resource from God. Otherwise, can be true as well. All right, just to summarize, how do you live with them on? Good job, sir. How to live an abundant life through freedom, through relationship, through our identity in Jesus and becoming more like him. So if you're someone inspired, I want to share this thing is inspiration is perishable. An hour from now, 24 hours from now, you will forget most of the stuff I said here, which is totally normal. Inspiration is perishable. So I would like to encourage all of us to take 3 actions. It's going to take 15 minutes by the end of today, but it's going to make a profound difference. So Francis Chan, which was a book we read together about 10 years ago. But again, our good friend, Mentor George, reminded us to me this week. Something is wrong if our lives make sense to non-believers. Something is wrong if our lives make sense to non-believers. I want you to start thinking about what are 3 actions that I would take that make no sense to the world to live in a life of nonconformity that help you to live an abundance life. And share that with your life in your group on a call or text message or whatever it is. What are 3 actions that you decide to take that makes no sense to the rest of the world, but that'll help you to live an abundance life? That's action number 1. Action number 2, record yourself to give your kids a speech on their wedding, assuming that you're no longer going to be around, and send it to them. And the emotional intensity is so strong that it's unbelievable. And then you appreciate more of the time that we have with our kids. Takes 2 minutes to do that, another minute to send out the email. Number 3, ask your spouse the following question today. Whatever they say, do it. Ask your spouse, what's the one thing I can do for you today to make you feel that I'm pursuing you as if you're still my girlfriend, boyfriend? They'll be shocked when they heard the question. Give them some time. They'll tell you. When I asked Chloe the question, she gave me an answer after 15, 30 minutes. Ask your spouse today, what's the one thing that you can do for them today that'll make you feel like you're still pursuing them as if they're a girlfriend or boyfriend. Finally, going back to my first slides, imagine today we all turn 90, blow out the candles, my friends celebrate for us. What does that feel like? You have friends surrounding you, you have great relationship, you have enjoying all the freedom in the world and live a life of abundance, and also you're here, somebody whisper into your ear, hopefully saying, well done, my faithful servant. That's it. Thank you very much.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did when I heard it for the first time. And these are one of the episodes I think you'll listen to over and over again because there's so much value in here. Now, if you want to learn more about the program Jeff's in, it's called Titanium. It's called the Titanium Coaching and Mastermind Program. It's a combination. It's a hybrid of one-on-one coaching and a mastermind. This gives you the ability to get focused direction and help from a coach who's experienced, who has expertise in the area you are looking to improve in, and also a peer group, a mastermind of people that are all excited for you. They want to see you succeed. They want to encourage you and help you achieve that success. And, you know, if you fall off the horse, they're there to pick you back up and get you rolling and moving forward again. If you want to learn more about this incredible program and be part of the people in the community that are making amazing things happen, go to lifeonaire.com/launch. That's launch, like a rocket ship, launch, LAUNCH. And we'll schedule a call. We'll have a conversation, see if it's a right fit for you. We'll put the link in the show notes as well, but it's lifeonaire.com/launch. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.